Welcome back to the Aussie Shed, ladies and gentlemen, for another episode of Project Fairlady. So what I'm up to today, as you've probably figured out from the thumbnails, I'm taking a bit of a break from the bodywork, and I'm going to rebuild the throttle body mechanisms. Now, I'm doing this in preparation for getting some new billet throttle bodies, and my mechanisms are in very, very poor condition, typical with all the stuff on the rest of the car. So I've decided to get them apart, have a bit of a look at them, and I'm going to see what we need to do to bring everything up to a decent standard. Okie dokie, let's have a look at them. Alrighty, so down here on the bench we have the two throttle bodies off the Fairlady. This one is still intact, if you can call it that. And this one, I have disassembled the throttle body linkage off it. The main reason I'm doing this is because I have noted, looking at these throttle bodies, that the linkage on them, plus the main linkage itself, is in very, very poor condition. Most of the bushes have deteriorated and broken away. This is a remnant of one of the large bushes that are meant to be on there. Few more bits. Now there are meant to be 4 of these, 2 on each throttle body, and there is also these small bushes here which seem to be in slightly better condition. They are very, very brittle though. If you touch them, bits break off them. They are just not very happy. Now this throttle body here that is still in one piece appears to have 0 existing large bushings. Maybe there's some small ones, but there is meant to be a large bushing against here and another one down in here. Both appear to be completely gone, and what that does is it causes the return springs to sit all wonky, and it means that there's a possibility that they're going to bind up, because all these bushings are designed to keep the internal and external spring. There's another spring inside, so you've got the internal spring here. Let me just put that down. You've got the internal spring, and then you have the external spring, like this. Now they both have bushings and stuff on them, but without those plastic bushings, the springs sit all wonky, and there's a chance of them binding up. They've been put there for a reason, so we need to replace them. Unfortunately, here in Australia, they're very hard to come by. You can buy them through, I think, some of the US suppliers, Z1, you know, some of the other joints. But they're a very simple thing, and there's enough left of them here that I can work out what sizes they're meant to be. Plus I can just measure where they're meant to slide over and give myself a bit of clearance and everything. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make up a new set on the mini lathe here in the Aussie Shed. So what I have here is the stock that I'm going to make them out of. This is just a piece of Delrin. Hang on, let me grab some calipers. Alright, now 30mm, 30.6 it's saying. Yeah, close enough. 30mm piece of Delrin. Now I've chosen Delrin because Delrin's quite hard, which these bushings are quite hard, and Delrin's also very, very slippery. And because they have to be so thin, we need something that is quite hard. It's going to be able to hold its own shape in you know, a very thin sort of a format. So a piece of Delrin is what I've got for it. So they're 30. That's 30. This thing here, that's sort of about the size that our exterior's got to be. It's 29, so we're on the money. And that bush also has to fit in here, that big one. It's about 28, so we'll definitely get it out of this bit of Delrin. So what I'm about to do is, other than disassemble this second throttle body, which I'll do shortly, is I'm going to cut a piece of this off, set it up in the mini lathe. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to use the 3-jaw chuck, because my collet chuck will only go up to 26mm, so it just misses out, unfortunately. I'd really prefer to do this in a collet chuck, but it looks like the 3-jaw is going to be the baby to do it with. So I'll get a bit of this cut off, and we'll head over to the mini lathe and set some of this up. So we've got our piece chucked up in the lathe, guys, and it looks like our OD here is about 29mm. So they don't have to be super accurate as long as they're around that. They can be a little bit under, as long as they're not over. So we'll head over to the mini lathe and I'll just whip across this and bring it down to 29mm. So what we have at this stage is about 30.6. So take off 1.6 and we'll have 29. Alrighty, that looks pretty clean. We can start taking it down to size. Alright guys, that's pretty much there. Battery's about to go flat in the camera. I'll just finalise that size and we'll start on the next step. Alrighty, new battery. So in the meanwhile, I've also stripped apart the other throttle body, and there was only one bush in it, but it's almost complete. So 3 were completely disintegrated, and you can see if you just touch these it breaks away. That's due to the plastic being heat cycled in there. And the good thing about using the Delrin, it's very happy with heat cycling. It's got very good thermal properties. It can go down really cold, really hot. Cycling doesn't seem to worry it. It's just really probably the best stuff to use for this sort of thing. Teflon would probably be your next choice, but it's generally a bit softer. I think this is just a really good choice for this sort of stuff. Anyway, so I found a almost complete bush, so this is good enough that I can finalise all my sizing off it exactly. So what I've decided to do, now that I've got the OD down to size, I think I'm just going to run a hole up through the middle there. It needs to be about 20.7mm. That's what this hole is across there. So I think I'll do that first. So I'm just going to run a drill through there, 18mm. I'll finish it with a boring bar, get it to the right size. Then I'll start running down the outside and then just part them off one at a time as I do them. So anyway, I'll shut up. I'll just get that done. I'll speed it up so it doesn't go on forever. And we'll get a new set of bushes made. And that's that, guys. So rinse and repeat for a few more, and we should be looking good. New bushes, fantastic new Delrin bushes. Alright, we'll get these done. We'll do the small ones exactly the same, and we should be cooking with gas. And this is the result. So this throttle body here has a new set of bushes that I've made fitted to it. You can see the spring sits quite nicely, and particularly on the underside is where you really notice the difference. It just works very well. The spring doesn't want to bind up, it just does what it's meant to do. It twists in and coils properly. So this is the other throttle body, which I haven't done the bushings on. and you can see our stop piece, which sort of keeps it all together, is just flailing around because there's nothing holding it in. And what happens here with the spring is, as you activate the throttle, the coils on the spring wind in together and bind up. And that's not a good situation with the springs doing that. And you can see how far they're pushing across without the bushings to keep them centered on the shafts and everything. So that's the difference, guys. And that's what they look like. And it's a pretty obvious thing when you see the springs sitting all wonky like that, that's the reason why, because all the plastic bushings in there are shagged. Yeah, so again, there's one with all the new bushings in it. Just sits nice, even in this underneath section, which is where you'll see it the most. It just does what it's meant to do, and you know, you'll have no problems if you do that. So I'm going to keep going with these. What I'm going to be doing is pulling the units apart again and coating everything up. I'm not sure what I'm going to coat them all with at the moment. These throttle bodies aren't staying on the Fairlady. I'm just using those to kind of demonstrate what I'm doing here. I actually have new billet throttle bodies ordered for the Fairlady, but I need to get all these mechanisms rebuilt first before they go together. So I'll carry on with that, and I'll be back. And here's a top tip for you guys. While the wife's out of the house, you can use her ultrasonic jewelry cleaner to clean all your throttle body bits and pieces. I better go before she catches me. And that's the final result, guys. You can see they turned out pretty good. Yeah. So that's just painted in a single pack epoxy enamel. Pretty durable finish if you let it sit for a while, and it does take a while, a week or two, to be super hard and durable. But I've used it a lot over the years, and it actually stays quite flexible when it reaches full hardness. So it's kind of perfect for painting springs and stuff like that with. As you can see from this, I've actually made the retainer on the end out of black Delrin as well, rather than some white Delrin or some white nylon or anything. I just think it looks better with the whole lot being black. So as I say, all of this stuff is actually going to be removed and then put onto my my new throttle bodies when I get them. I have ordered those powder coated black or coated black, however they do them, and so they'll be all sort of completely black. So that should be a good thing. At least now I'm ready for them, whereas previously, you know, the mechanisms just wouldn't have been right. The new throttle bodies obviously don't come with new mechanisms. You have to reuse your own old mechanisms on there. And yeah, I'm pretty happy how that turned out. That's about all I've got time for today, guys. So as always, thanks for stopping by. Always a bloody pleasure to have you here. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up, and subscribe to the channel. As always, I'll bloody well see you on the next one. Cheers.